Today I'm going to explain the 3 signs that you have saved enough for retirement and that indicate you should retire as soon as you can. As the owner of a fee-only financial planning firm, I spend hundreds of hours every year helping my clients retire early through flexible and easy retirement planning. Unfortunately, most of the advice online tells you that you have to wait until 65 or later to begin retirement, and this causes many retirees to oversave for retirement, leading to years of lost freedom that they could have had if they had just known how to time their retirement better. So there are 3 questions I'm going to ask you over the course of this video, and if you find yourself answering yes to all 3 of them, it's my opinion that you should strongly consider retiring as early as you can. And if you can't answer yes to all 3 questions in this video, then I'm going to share the process by which I believe you can get yourself there. So the first question is, do you have enough? And of course, when I say do you have enough, I'm talking about enough financial assets. And this leads to the question of how do you determine if you have enough wealth to retire? So there is a relatively simple formula that can be used to determine the starting pool of assets, or the amount of savings you need on the day you retire. And I call this the required portfolio income formula. You can use this formula to back out an estimate of the amount of retirement savings that would be ideal in order to retire with a high likelihood of not running out of money while alive. In fact, a variation of this formula is actually the linchpin of most of the retirement planning tools out there. So right now I'm going to pull a spreadsheet up on the screen and walk you through how to apply this spreadsheet and this formula for yourself. And if you'd like access to the spreadsheet, I will include a downloadable template of this in the description to this video below on YouTube. So as you can see, we have pulled up a spreadsheet here. And there's 3 parts to this spreadsheet. So the process of finding out how much the total starting pool of assets you would need on the day you retire takes 3 steps. The first step is to take an estimate of what you will spend in retirement, and then find an estimate of what guaranteed income sources or other income sources you might have in retirement would be, and then find the difference between those, because that will leave you with the total dollar amount you need from your portfolio, which we call required portfolio income. So that's what's showed on this first screen here. Now we're doing a very simple version of this on the screen here, and what we've done here is we have an estimate of a hypothetical household's pre-retirement expenses, and then we have an estimate below that that takes 85% of the pre-retirement expenses and estimates that that is likely what this retired hypothetical household will spend. And then we take the a tax adjustment formula to do what's called grossing up. So we have to have, if this household wants $63,750 of actual spending money, they need to procure that in an after-tax manner. So they need actually closer to $75,000 of pre-tax income. So let's assume that this hypothetical household needs $75,000 of pre-tax income. From there, that's their spending amount. From there, we have 2 sources of income in retirement. We'll have spouse 1's Social Security of $18,200 a month, or a year, and we'll have spouse 2's Social Security of $22,400 per year. Those income sources combine to make up $40,600 of income, and what's left, and this is the required portfolio income dollar amount, is $34,400. So that $34,400 is equal to $75,000 minus the $40,600 that are procured by Social Security. This required portfolio income is the year 1 withdrawal amount that this household will need from their portfolio. And now we can move to the second sheet here, which uses an estimate that shows us what would the starting pool of retirement assets need to be in order for this household to have a minimum chance of lasting 30 years of that payment amount, not adjusted for inflation. So this is not adjusted for inflation, and this is why we'll have question number 2 that comes up in a few moments here, but this is why this exercise alone is actually not sufficient. That's why you have 3 steps or 3 questions that you should go through before making a retirement decision. So in this scenario here, this household wants $34,400 of income in year 1 of retirement. If they're to have a 30-year retirement, they would need a starting pool of retirement assets of $1,032,000. And in this case here, one thing to point out about this sheet that's on the screen is this is not inflation adjusted, but this is a formula that can be adjusted. So you can go in here and change the number to 350 years of retirement. I meant to put 35. But you can change the number and it will automatically adjust the starting pool of retirement assets. And now there's a third step to this, because let's say you haven't actually, you're several years from retirement, or maybe you're even the year before your target retirement date. And you're doing this formula, you find out your RPI and you plug the number in here, and you find out you're a little short of the starting pool of retirement assets that this formula might suggest. Well, this third sheet that's I'm now tabbing over to is a savings guide. This can help you figure out how much you should save per year, or how many years it might take to save at your current savings rate in order to get to that starting asset goal. And right here we have a current age of 57 as an estimate. Let's say the desired retirement age is 62. This is a formula here, and it says this person has 5 years left to save. The target asset goal is pulled directly from the sheet prior, and then we can play with this estimated achievable rate of return. That's entirely up to you guys watching this video to put in what you believe is a comfortable achievable rate of return based on your risk tolerance. And then you can plug in your current retirement savings, and it will backtrack out what monthly savings amount you need using a financial calculator and a rate of growth to determine how you might get to the point at which you have this $1,032,000 bucket, or whatever bucket size you need. Now, the other thing to note here is that this spreadsheet, the middle spreadsheet here, does not have any growth rate in here and does not factor in inflation. And this is what's going to lead us to question number 2 in just a moment. But before I go to question number 2, at this point, it's very important to understand a few things. The first thing to understand is that how much money you have does not by itself mean you will have a successful retirement. In fact, how much wealth you have saved can actually be extremely misleading if it's the only variable you factor into the decision to retire. It can actually be really helpful to think of the dollar value of your retirement savings as the foundation of a house. Yes, the foundation is a very critical part of a structure. Without it, you have no house. But the foundation alone does not actually give you a structure to live in. And the same is true for retirement savings. Now, the second thing to understand is that succeeding in retirement is a complete 180-degree different strategy than succeeding in getting to retirement. What I've shown on the screen so far is the system of how to get to retirement. You set a savings target, you set an asset goal, you figure out what dollar amount you need on the day you retire to satisfy an income, and that is the plan that gets you to retirement. The behaviors and systems that influence one's ability to actually retire and succeed in retirement change dramatically once you do retire. So it's really best to think of retirement planning as 2 completely different plans. There's the plan that gets you to retirement, and there's the plan that you actually use in retirement. 2 separate plans. So this lays the groundwork perfectly for question number 2, which is, do you actually have a plan? Specifically, do you have a plan for how to navigate the changes that will come once you are retired? Now, I've met with many people who have tremendous wealth, more wealth than they could ever spend in their lifetime. Yet they come to me just as anxious about running out of money while alive as someone who clearly does not have enough wealth. And that experience has taught me that simply having enough money isn't enough to produce a healthy retirement. See, the plan that gets you to retirement is destination oriented. It's all about getting someone to retirement's door with enough financial assets to hypothetically not run out of money while they're alive. But the fact of the matter is that the destination is actually not a plan. And so there's a great analogy for this using Google Maps. So Google Maps is actually one of the most commonly used planning tools of all time. See, Google Maps helps you plan how to get from point A to point B. And if all Google Maps did was tell you where point B was, it would not be a useful tool at all. What makes Google Maps useful actually is that once you plug in point B, Google Maps will now do 5 things for you. It will tell you where you are now, where you would like to go. It will tell you turn-by-turn directions, how to get to your point B. It will also monitor your real-time driving route for any road closures, accidents, or other problems. And then finally, and most importantly, it will provide you adjustments or rerouting instructions if the monitoring, part 4 there, turns up any problems. And retirement planning is exactly the same thing. A real retirement plan has 5 parts. It has an assessment, which is the point A of Google Maps. It has a destination or a goal, which is point B of Google Maps. And then it has prescriptions, which is the turn-by-turn directions from Google Maps. It has real-time monitoring. And then finally, it offers adjustments, contingency plans, or rerouting options, all 3 ways of saying the same thing. And my takeaway from experiences with countless retirees of all levels of wealth is that confidence in retirement does not actually come from the dollar amount in the bank, but rather from the confidence of having turn-by-turn directions, real-time monitoring, and the contingency plans or rerouting options that are provided by a robust plan. Now, if you already have a plan that ticks those boxes, that's fantastic. And if you don't, then the solution would be to evaluate where the gaps are in your plan. For instance, do you not have a great monitoring system? Is there no tool in place that monitors spending or monitors portfolio value and tracks it over time? If that's the case, go put one in place. If you don't have a great set of contingency plan documented, go strategize those and document them well. And then with those things in place, you can now move on to question number 3. So the third question is, what will you do with your time that will be meaningful and life-giving in retirement? See, too often we evaluate the quote-unquote, can I retire comfortably question purely through the financial lens. But retiring comfortably isn't only about money. You also need to have ways to contribute to your family and your community, to find value and meaning out of how you spend your time. And if work continues to provide that for you beyond the point at which you have enough financial wealth and a great plan in place, then by all means you should continue to work. And not only that, if you don't have a way to substitute for the value that work provides you, the non-financial value, then maybe you shouldn't retire. In fact, there's actually reliable studies that have shown that working longer can actually extend lifespan. Or said the opposite, retiring early can actually reduce how long you live. And a study titled The Association of Retirement Age with Mortality showed that regardless of health, socioeconomic status, or other demographic factors, delaying retirement by as little as 1 year resulted in between a 9 and 11% lower risk of all-cause mortality. So I'll read one quick section from that study for your reference. It says, the mechanisms behind the association of retirement age with mortality are generally not well understood. However, one possible explanation is that employment is a key component of individuals' identity that provides them with substantial financial, psychosocial, and cognitive resources. Additionally, retirement can be a stressful life event associated with cognitive decline, difficulties in daily activities, morbidities, anxiety, and depression. Delayed transition into retirement and continued participation in volunteer activities and paid work in old age after retirement could delay the declines of cognitive, physical, and mental functioning and reduce the risk of morbidities. So at the end of the day, you work hard to save, to invest, to plan, so that you can do something more satisfying with your life and your time on the other side of work. Well, if we haven't considered that doing nothing on the other side of work isn't actually all that satisfying, we might be in for a rude awakening. What if it's actually life-taking instead of life-giving, to have nothing meaningful to do and have not given that serious thought before actually taking the leap and retiring? And we certainly need to address questions 1 and 2, the financial elements. Like, you need to know that you will have enough money to not run out in retirement. You also need to know that you have a robust plan in place that will help you navigate the new uncharted waters on the other side of work. But we also need to make sure we nourish our body and our mind so that we can actually experience what we hope to experience out of putting work behind us. At the end of the day, my recommendation is to start thinking and planning for these 3 questions at least 5 years prior to your desired retirement deadline, so that you have enough runway and time to learn what you need to learn, or make adjustments to a plan you may already have in place so that you can arrive at the destination you want when you want to. So with that said, I hope you found our exploration of these 3 questions today enlightening. And if you'd like to learn more about how we help our clients at Peak Financial Planning craft a comfortable and confident retirement plan, you can visit our website at www.thepeakfp.com. Thanks as always for your time and attention, and I'll see you in the next video.